I'm Tyler Groeneveld. I'm with Corteva Agriscience. I'm the commercial director for grains and oils in North America. And today I'm with Kevin Auch. Kevin, thanks for joining me today.
Oh, thanks, Tyler, for having me. I always enjoy talking about all things agriculture and especially sustainability and that kind of thing.
So a little bit about Carmangay. So talk about your farm. We're north of Lethbridge and...
Yep, we're in the flight path between Lethbridge and Calgary, so we're right in that line there, closer to Lethbridge, but we've been there since my dad bought the place in 1963, which coincidentally was when I was born, so it's the only home I've ever known. Between rented and owned land, we seed a little over 5,000 acres a year now. Right now we're in a 5-year rotation where I grow a pulse and follow that with a canola and a cereal of some type, wheat, barley, durum, that kind of thing. And then I throw a year of flax in between and then end it off with another cereal. Usually something different than what the original cereal was. So in those 5 years, you've got a different crop every time.
So this makes a lot of sense to me now, because you and I have known each other for probably about 15 years, thereabouts, at various industry events, but growing that diversity of crops. Mm-hmm. So you spend a lot of time being involved as a farmer. Being involved in advocacy, talking about farming. So we've interacted quite a bit, but what different groups have you been involved with over the years?
In 2004, I joined the Alberta Canola Commission, and then in 2012, I was one of the founding directors of the Alberta Wheat Commission, and I did my stint there and was chair for a couple of years there as well. And now I'm on the Alberta Pulse Growers and currently the chair of Pulse Canada through Alberta Pulse Growers.
So you're staying busy. You and I sit on Protein Industries Canada now. So a little bit of a protein pulse crop connection there. A lot of the crops you're growing fit into that. I'm also a part of Cereals Canada. Obviously I advocate. Corteva is certainly involved, the crops that are core to Alberta and Canadian agriculture. I mean, if we want to truly influence the destination, we have to get involved in the journey.
Yep.
I mean, I suspect, obviously you started with dirt, and what you're growing today, it's materially different, I'm guessing. The yields of what you're producing today from when you started back in '84, you said.
Yeah, well, it's incredible. In 1984 was my first year of farming, and that was the first power drought that they'd had since the 30s, right?
Good timing.
They had, it was good timing, yeah. It was, yeah. I must be a little bit crazy because I stayed farming too. Like I could have done other things, but I've always been interested in agriculture, and that's kind of, I wanted to see what we could do there, right? So actually in 2021, 2022, they were fairly similar years in moisture to when I started in 84, 85. But the difference is we have now been farming in a conservation manner and no-till and the whole 9 yards, crop rotation, everything. Yeah. You add it all up and our yields were like multiples higher than what they were in
from drought year to drought year.
Right.
Yeah.
Same amount of moisture. But
exactly. Same amount of moisture. Farming practices have changed.
Yes.
So therefore you're producing more per acre, in spite of what you can't control is the weather.
It's not pleasant not to get the moisture that you need, but it's also not, it's not as bad if you're doing things better.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the stories. I mean, so I spent a lot of time working with food companies, the food industry. So, I mean, everyone's aware because of the high price of commodities, right? We're growing less, so whether it's cereals or oil seeds or pulses, I mean, total supply was, there was less available, prices are higher, but I don't think people appreciate in terms of how successful you were able to mitigate against the real disaster of probably on a comparison basis, 1984 to what you produce today. I mean, it's the resilience of the farmer today is something that I advocate, and all the time I think that that voice of the farmer is needed at the food industry, the food company. And that helps them. It increases the confidence. It helps them say, yeah, I want what Kevin's producing. And it might be what Kevin literally is producing, but let's talk at the crop level first, whether it's the peas or the wheat or the durum, the canola. I mean, I want that as the ingredient because I have confidence that the Canadian farmer can produce it. And that is something that that connectivity to the farm is more important than ever, because that supply chain is so critical to saying, I need the Canadian crop ingredients in my, my packaged good or in my formulated product, whatever it may be.
Right, and I can understand as a consumer why they want things to be done properly. Nobody wants to destroy the environment, myself included. My livelihood depends on preserving the soil and the land that we have. If I look back at the quality of the soil 40, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, compared to what it is today, there is no comparison.
Yeah.
Once you understand that you're supporting a system, like an ecosystem, right?
Yeah.
And if you treat that ecosystem properly, it actually can benefit my bottom line because my production has gone up, right? The soil microorganisms don't care where they get their food from, to a point, right? But
yeah.
they need the nutrition that we supply to them, and they don't like having their houses beat up on. So that's why I'm basically just doing my no-till, slicing into and planting my crops, but leaving most of that seed bed alone, right? And just putting my crops in, rotating my crops, so I'm feeding different types of organisms every year and cycling nutrients and cycling crops. And the happy side benefit of that too is when you grow different crops, you're also using different crop protection products.
Yeah.
Right. So you're delaying the resistances to different crop protection products as well. So
the complexity of it. I mean, I appreciate. I mean, you're not complacent where you're at, and I think that's the thing. It's we don't need more acres. We just need to continue to adopt to change, whether it's new technology, new information and farming practices, how different crops react in the environment, and you're planning 5 years ahead, basically. I'm with making decisions. But I mean, it's that foresight. I mean, we're not complacent. We can grow more on the existing acres, and whether it's here in the Carmangay area or whether it's across Western Canada. I mean, I think there's so much we can do, and I think that's, to me, the next frontier. We continue to embrace technology to, ensure that that's safe, reliable, nutritious, abundant. Yeah. I mean, that's a part of the reliable discussion. That railway strikes and labor issues that at the port. That everyone reads in the papers. That's not the face for agriculture. I mean, the face needs to become what we do right here in southern Alberta.
Yeah, we don't want that to be the face of agriculture. And transportation is an issue, and we have to make sure that keeps moving. But on my farm, the reliability of the production is what I'm worried about, right? The reliability and consistency. And I think we've come a long way.
This leads well into this, whether it was the Alberta canola producers or Pulse Canada or Cereals Canada. I mean, that's the fact that we can be a reliable producer. This domestic market, and when I say domestic, I look at North America as, honestly, I mean, we're 30 million, they're 300 million on the other side of the line. I mean, it's all critical mass that, that allows us to build that, and get your product, what you grow, into and on the supermarket shelf in various places. So,
yeah, no, it's important to supply that domestic market, and we know it's there. Hey, our transportation charges on domestic markets are a lot less. We can get it around the world, and that's a testament to the innovation that we've had in Western Canada here, is that we can supply export markets.
Yeah.
Right. Look at our latitude. Well, it's 31 below out there right now, right? And yet we are a food exporter.
Yeah.
And that's largely due to the innovation that we found better ways to do agriculture in Western Canada.
So Kevin, I mean, let's talk about innovation here for a minute.
Sure.
I'm very fortunate right now. I'm a part of, we're really, globally committed to canola and canola seed. The question we have is how can we, in addition to growing more canola seed, bushels per acre, and maintain yield, what can we do with the byproduct? So we're focusing a lot on elevating the protein and decreasing the fiber in the seed. So you've got moving from a byproduct mentality to a co-product mentality. And I mean, I think that's to me, what I get excited about is when I look at new market demand and opportunities, whether that's applications or new, geographies.
Right.
Feeding different animals, not just dairy animals, but if we can increase the volume of meal that could go to a poultry or to a swine species. I mean, that's marketability. I mean, that's how we're heavily investing and are, really committed to kind of, again, I use the more energy in seed, if you will, not just from a renewable energy perspective, but, a digestible energy. So that's a part of a lot of the innovation that, we're excited at Corteva to chase, and it's not easy, or it would have been done a long time ago, but you can't compromise. You get paid per bushels, recognize that, but how do we increase the value of the crop?
Well, and yeah, as a farmer, I mean, we sell the canola. The value of that, though, depends on the innovation that happens after we sell it. So you're trying to create a co-product, like you said, instead of a byproduct, right? A co-product, and the natural assumption is that there's a high demand for that as well. So that's great that your side of the industry is creating these innovations, right? My innovations on the farm are different. We're looking at ways of using less inputs, or using them more wisely so that they work longer and better to increase our production and the quality that we're selling, because we get paid for quality as well.
100%.
Right. So
what I don't think everyone appreciates, and again, I have a coworker who talks about your acre of dirt is what all of us have to make our living off of, right? You own the dirt, but everything that you produce and you need to, make a living, it's a business, for you, but then everything that happens after that is from that acre, right? That's the opportunity and the importance of all this. So, I guess I face a lot of the, canola meal trades at a discount to soybean meal, right? So all of our theory is, well, if we can elevate the protein, and the only reason it trades at a discount is because, the amino acid, the everything about the protein is good. It's just there's so much fiber there. So if we can decrease the fiber and increase the protein, it doesn't matter what the market does as long as we can decrease the discount to soy protein. And I think that will create reliable supply. It's just this global demand for protein, in both animal and plant is going to increase. And it'll vary widely from, what you and I like on our plate reflects, a North American diet. But what's going on in the balance of the world is what we don't think about often. We can't just look at production ag. I think that's a great word to use when we're talking about supply and reliability. But then it comes down to the quality of what we can do. And I think we have to look at, what it takes for you to grow it, and then what we can do collectively or as industry to improve, then create new markets and appeal, because that then is going to influence what you plant.
So I come about it as, how can I make a good rotation that's sustainable, and then from there I market it. And I rely on the industry to find the innovation on the other side to increase the demand and hopefully the price of what I'm selling from my farm.
I think it's exciting, some of what you're going to start to see over time, what we can do with wheat crops too. So it's not just a crop in the rotation. It's it's another legitimate revenue generating opportunity for you.
Oh yeah.
So I think this is where the seed developers now, anyone who's not just looking at producing more bushels per acre, but looking at, so how can we solve for what the consumer is ultimately looking for?
Right.
That creates opportunity. That's where I get excited on any given day.
Yeah. Well, I grow wheat and I have to make a profit with it. It's not just a loss leader to make everything else work, right?
Fair enough. Fair enough. but it might not be as profitable as some of your other crops. Maybe it is. I'm sure you.
Well, it depends. It depends on the year, right?
Yeah.
You know, if you think about the prairies, were all grasses. I mean, there was legumes and that kind of thing, but they called them grasslands for a reason, right?
Yep.
Well, wheat as a cereal is a grass, right? Like, so it's a natural crop for the area we're growing it. It likes to grow here. It does well. So that's good news if the industry is coming up with better ways of doing it that will increase demand or increase production or whatever to
Well, I think we just need to look at, so what's the consumer looking for? What's the barrier to wheat being used in different applications and more broadly? Obviously, there's some dietary challenges for some.
Yep.
And we never thought about that when we were young and growing up, but it's the reality today. So, I mean, it's kind of, if there's a market need, then I think there's a lot of ingenuity on the farm and by seed developers to solve for these things. It takes time. So then we need, we need the regulatory system, if you will, to support innovation, because it's the way we've done it for 20 years or 60 years, it doesn't mean that's the way we should do it tomorrow.
Right. Yeah. No, the world is changing. I mean, we don't have milkmen delivering milk to our doors.
Yeah, and you're not milking a cow anymore.
Yeah, I did when I was a kid.
Yeah. But I mean, this whole issue of advocacy. I mean, we talked about about the connectivity and the opportunity to get you involved with the food industry. But I think we need to get more people at the provincial and the federal government level aware of, just because the majority of them come from urban populations, of what you do here. And I think that elevation and awareness is critical. I mean, because I'm guessing you don't want more oversight in terms of this is how Kevin should farm.
Yeah, well, that's the dangerous part. Is I want to be as transparent as possible. I have nothing to hide. Like, I'm doing everything I possibly can to provide a good, nutritious ingredient for the foods that people are eating, and I have nothing to hide. Come and see what I'm doing, because I am confident in what I'm doing. All we have to do is pass that confidence onto the consumer so that they know what we're doing, right? So we don't end up with crazy regulations that are counterproductive.
Yep.
Because that can happen, where a regulation, well, we want this to happen on the farm. Well, why do you want that? Because we have this misconception of what's happening on the farm, right? Like, we're doing things as well as we can. And as an industry, is there room for improvement? Oh, I'm sure there is.
Yeah.
Like,
well, exactly.
I've been improving since I started farming, right, in 1984.
But we need to be at the table. And I understand, I accept, government, we have a role in communicating, and they have a role in setting policies, but that's where it's kind of we need to work together. Their awareness, I think that's the opportunity. The awareness of what Kevin Auch does on his farm is critical, because it's not the paradigms or what they may see in other areas of the world. I mean, that's not how we farm here.
Yeah, and there's reasons why that's not how we farm here, right?
Yeah.
Like, every agricultural region in the world is different, right? And we're figuring out, and we've largely figured out a good way of farming here.
Yeah.
Is there room for more innovation? Yes.
Our livelihood depends on it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Kevin, thanks for joining me today. I mean, I think it's important that Corteva has ongoing and open discussions about agriculture and agri-food with farmers, but your insights and your comments have been invaluable, and I look forward to collaborating more with you here in the not too distant future.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I'm always willing to talk about agriculture and to try to promote what we're doing. So thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you, my friend.